So we started talking about last week about Maso Maton, about commercial activity. And for last week he spoke about people whose commercial activity is in order to rip other people off, to take as much as they possibly can from them and to give as little as they possibly can. And he goes here further, Mamash on top of 34. Zos v'acheres, and besides that, even more than that, Gama'ata sheyitnu, even a little bit they give, ain't shorsha b'tov. It's not rooted in goodness. B'koach nesina, in the power of giving. That's not why they're giving. Achmimikor ra'yabia comes from a bad source. Mikoach hanatila, from the quality of taking. Halo kol shifa some of machshavosayim, all of their ambition, all of their thoughts, b'ntila yidabku, are glued to taking. That which they give, that they should take 7 times as much. That's business. Right, that's capitalism.
Right, it's capitalism.
Right, he's against capitalism. Right, we're going to get to that. What exactly is good? Communism is not good either, but capitalism is not good either. So the point is this: in any capitalism is based on greed. That's why in Wall Street they had that famous saying. For all I know, they still have it: greed is good, because greed makes the world go round. Right? I want more, so therefore I'm going to sell more. Because I sell better products, so I can make more money. So that's rooted in Natila, in taking. So that means that really, even I'm giving something, I'm taking. Now, there's
a positive outcome for society, though.
That doesn't matter. In other words, he's saying it doesn't help if it's a positive outcome for society because it doesn't make you're not becoming a better person. In other words, if society is benefiting, is not the gauge of whether what you're doing is good. Because if your society is benefiting at the same time that you are corrupting yourself, that's not a good thing, right? So there's a famous book for which actually Rav Dessler is well known to have read and to have endorsed. Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And Dale Carnegie was a car salesman, and he wrote his book, How to Win Friends and Influence Salesmen, because the way car salesmen work, he was a successful car salesman, very successful evidently, is by making the customer your friend, right? You learn his name.
That's not genuine.
What?
That's not genuine.
So Dale Carnegie taina that he means you should be genuine. But most people read the book have no intention of being genuine, right? They intend on using these tactics in order to sell a car. And if you ever go into a car dealer, they are very adept at that. They are very good, the good ones. They're making them feel.
You can tell who's real and who's not.
What?
You could usually tell when it's a farce and when it's real.
You might be able to tell, but most people can't tell.
That's a sales pitch. You can tell if he really means it or if he's just trying to make a sale.
So my next car you'll buy for me?
You're not real.
I was going to buy for me.
So it could be. The point Dale Carnegie wrote his book to try and make people authentic. And but even the people not authentic, yes, it could be as a sales pitch. But some people enjoy getting a sales pitch. You know that.
Yeah, sometimes you might buy the car even though you know the guy's a fake, but
right.
It's a good price on the car, and you may buy the car anyway.
Right.
But
yeah,
you could usually tell if someone's being authentic or not.
Okay, that may be true. So Rav Dessler is saying, regardless, that even if it was authentic, if the purpose is to sell cars, right, then the purpose is to take, not to give. As he says, a storekeeper gives his wares in order to make money. He doesn't give them really. And if he gives good merchandise and beautiful merchandise to the buyer, it's because he's going to make that much more money. There's another bad aspect of capitalism. Because people are all trying to take, they compete with each other. Everybody wants to draw to himself everything he can. This is not considered to be a bad thing in human justice. Competition is considered to be a good thing by the capitalist system, not a crime. On the contrary, well, the assumption is that you'll get better products if there's competition. So we encourage competition. He says, Mevia lidei tsar v'isurin harbe. But does competition bring to anguish and afflictions? And sometimes the very bad illnesses, and early death. So he says competition really is a bad thing. And competition is something which causes people. In every competition, there's always a loser. Not everybody wins. Nowadays, I know we're all woke, and therefore everybody finds a way to win. But in the ways that in real competition, in business, people win and the other people lose, right? In sports, one side wins, the other side loses. Now, if they're getting paid millions and millions of dollars, so it's a bit of a farce, right? They both won, right? Yes, but in an amateur game, right? So so one side wins, one side loses. That's they used to say on the wide world of sports on television, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, right? The victory is thrilling, but defeat is agonizing. So the this is the first type of givers and takers, of people involved in commercial activity. Hamina Sheni, the second type, which is the good type, is bar drachel perkabak. We'll explain the next parak. Okay, that was capitalism is bad. Now, what is good? So amasa natov, what's good commercial activity? So this is what tzaddikim, what righteous people do. They give they give a lot, and they take a little. Also little they take muchrachim hemabo. It's this what they're compelled to take. In order to make it possible for them, to give and to do good, which is what their soul really wants. For these people, you come out saying, even their taking comes from a holy source. Because they want to give. They're not going to ever touch the bad trait, the quality of taking, ever. In other words, if a person gets a salary, right, in order to go and be able to function in his job, which is a giving job, whatever type of job it is, so then the salary is also in order to be able to give. So it's netila, it's taking in order to give. In the previous system, you give in order to take. You do whatever you do in your job in order to make money. But you really did at your job to make money. In this system, you take money in order to do your job. And your job is to do good. And I think I mentioned this already for last week, there's no job in the world in which you can't use it as a vehicle and regard it as a vehicle to do good.
Drug dealing.
What? Even drug dealing. Even drug dealing. There's a product people want, product that they're addicted to, the product that evidently makes them happy in some way, shape, or form. I'm doing the same shamayim. What?
A hitman.
Of course, a hitman. You're eliminating those bad guys. You're giving to society by eliminating them. Many from.
By the way, now we have a thing the rabbi said.
I was listening today to an interview with a guy who just wrote a book a few years ago. His name is Myron Sugarman. Myron Sugarman wrote a book called The Last Jewish Gangster, about himself. And he said he was quite an erudite fellow. I was very impressed with him, with the interviews I was listening to. It's interesting. He did one interview with a couple of rabbis in Boca Raton. His son is a from rabbi in Boca Raton, this gangster. And he did an interview with a couple of rabbis, and no profanity whatsoever. He did an interview with other guys, laced with profanity. So he knows how to hold himself back when he's talking to the rabbis. I was impressed, among other things. So he said, I gave the name. There was a frum Jewish hitman who only ate kosher and kept Shabbos. And he told whoever was his boss, I don't remember his bosses, I don't remember who it was, I was just listening to him, but I don't remember. He said, listen, only send me to kill Shabbos if it's absolutely necessary. Shabbos, it's Shabbos. So if it's absolutely necessary, it's okay. But if it's not absolutely necessary, I don't want to do any hits on Shabbos. So this guy obviously felt, he's somehow he was able to reconcile being Shomer Shabbos, Shomer Kashrus, and at the same time being a hitman for a living.
You gotta have that in a movie somewhere, no?
Sure it is. So Yeah. And he's saying, that these guys, the gangsters, even a lot of the Italians, not just the Jews, they fought Nazis. They fought Nazis and they smuggled arms from the state of Israel. And there's this famous story with Iran called, I don't know if it's true or not. This certain gangster helped out to save some Jews, and he promised this gangster long life. The gangster lived a long life as a result. No, he's going to die in bed. Sorry. He's going to die in bed, die violently. He was in Skyim. So in any event, then they say that the kids of the gangster went to Abshner. Abshner said he can't give such brachos. But in any event, the idea is that these gangsters also think they're doing good. He says every gangster has a Robin Hood, I don't know if everyone, but every gangster has a Robin Hood mentality. Robin Hood held by his taking, I'm giving, and my taking is justified by my giving. I'm giving more than I'm taking. So a gangster thinks, I got to kill a few people along the way. But look how many people I support by killing those people, right? So, and this gangster, the Jewish gangster, it was a crook, he's a gangster, he went to spend time in jail, but he was in the slot machine business. So he said, he's providing a service for people. People want to play slot machines. So he's providing them with the slot machines. So, again, almost any business, even a crooked business, you can justify and say is somehow providing some benefit for somebody. The question is what you're focused on. I don't think he was focused on being Michtav to others when he did slot machine business, but there is something to be said.
If someone has a job and they offer him a larger salary than he needs to live, he's supposed to say, don't give me that, just give me this? He
is actually going to get to that. He's going to get to that. I don't want to give it away, but he's actually going to speak about it. Okay, so he says, so how do you have good commercial activity? Let's look at two great people. One from the earliest generations, one from the last generations. Find the straight path. If we go on their path, we'll never stumble. In the Torah it says, Chanoch went and followed God. This is the Parshas Bereishis. Chanoch was a shoemaker. He made shoes for a living. He sewed shoes. On each and every stitch he made, he would make special unifications to his creator. Now, special unifications usually means Kabbalistic incantations. So it sounds like he's sitting there with the shoes, making the shoes, and saying all sorts of Kabbalistic chants or formula. So that's very difficult to say. And in fact, Rabbi Yisrael asked a question on this. Shamatu Shem Rabbeinu Yisrael Misalan Tzatzalim. Rabbi Yisrael Salat Shbiyah Ba'amar Hazeh Biyun Echmar. He gave a very geschmack explanation for this statement. He said, it doesn't mean that when he was sewing, he was clinging to lofty thoughts in Shamayim. It's not allowed to do that. How can you have to think about something else? When he's involved as a hired hand in work which he's supposed to do for other people. In other words, if I'm involved, if I start thinking about Kabbalah in the middle of my driving, I'm going to get into an accident. If I start thinking about Kabbalah in the middle of my making shoes, I'm going to miss a stitch. I'm not allowed to do that. I can't be frum on somebody else's cheshbon. So how is he allowed to think Kabbalistic thoughts? It can't be. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. So he says, no, Yichudim here means something else. What are the unifications he would unify? He used to put into his heart and into his mind, in each and every stitch, that should be good and strong. It should be good shoes. So the person who puts them on will get pleasure from them and benefit from them. This is called Yichudim, being Yachad with Hashem, because he clung this way to the meat of Hashem. who to do good and provide benefit for others. The kochi chelu yichudim, and that was how he unified himself with Hashem. Ki lo v'chavetz Chanoch b'shum davar. Chanoch didn't want anything else. Shum davar anything else. Zulas al-chayvetz echad, except for the one desire. Hashim yicheres, the unique ambition. The dabek midas konos, to be like Hashem. V'or acheres lo b'zeh. And also, there's an advantage in this. Another advantage. Ki nishmar b'kol shem etzra. He was preserved from any negative ramification. Shigam shigas again, who's not going to unintentionally fool somebody or trick somebody by missing a stitch because he's fully focused on what he's doing. And he's not going to be taking more than he's giving. Now, there's a story which I hate. I hate the story, and many of you probably heard the story, and I don't know if you hate it too, but I hope that after tonight you will hate it. There's a story that in my some Netziv's biography, my uncle the Netziv, which says that when the Netziv was very young, he heard his parents talking about him, and they were saying, Naftali Tzvi Yehuda, he's not learning so well. What are we going to do for him? So he said, what? Maybe we'll make him we'll make an apprentice to a shoemaker, so he can become a cobbler when he grows up. At least be able to have a nice parnasa and be a frumiyid. So the Netziv heard this conversation, and he said, and you know what? I see they're worried about me. I'm going to apply myself more diligently to my studies. And he became the Netziv. And later on, he said to have gathered together his Talmidim and said, had I not heard the conversation and come to that conclusion, when it would have come up to Shaim after 120 years, they would have said to me, Naftali Tzvi Yehuda, where's the Hamik Davar? Where's the Hamik Shela? Where's the Meishib Davar? All these Svarim which the Netziv wrote. And the question, and I would say, what do you want from me? I'm a shoemaker. They would say, no. You were not supposed to be a shoemaker. You were supposed to be the Netziv. You messed up. So it's a horrible, horrible story. That's a horrible story.
Because you could have been a good shoemaker, and that would have been also good.
Right. In other words, now every shoemaker has to think, no, maybe I'm supposed to be the Netziv. Right? Nobody can ever be samech b'chelko in what he's doing because, when I go to Shemaim, they might tell me I should have written 10 Svarim. If you wrote 10 Svarim, then maybe I was supposed to write 20 Svarim. There's no end to it. And it's a terrible, terrible story. By the way, there was a Rebbe in MTA. His name was Mr. Cohen. He was head of the Morashako, and he used to one of his shmuzim. I never heard him say it, but people mimic him all the time. He used to say there's some people who writes for him when they come up to Shemayim, they're going to ask them, "Where are the shoes?" So so you cut theoretically both ways, but. A person can make shoes, right, and be chanoch, and be miyachi yichudim, and be a tzaddik, because he's making the best possible shoes. You don't have to be a big time chacham, and to assume that if I'm not a big time chacham, I'm messing up, that's a horrible thing. Yeah.
Can't that be also, though, a little bit from a gaiva perspective? Like, I want to make the best shoes possible because I want to be known as the best shoemaker.
Yeah, I don't think. You're right. You would have to. That's why he's going to give the next Maisa to counterbalance this one. You're right. Okay, so it says Hamaisa Sheni, the second story. Yisapru Rabbeinu Soamer HaKohen Zatzal. It's all about Chavetz Chaim. About Chavetz Chaim. Hello, Zechinu Liroso, and that's a Tzadik Kodesh Zev Doreinu. Obviously, when Rav Dessler was alive, it was shortly after the period of the Chavetz Chaim, so he saw the Chavetz Chaim. He didn't want to make a living from his Torah. So he became a shopkeeper. He sold the best possible merchandise. He sold it at the best, I think it was food, he was selling whatever. He sold the best possible with a overflowing measure. And he always would make sure that the buyer got more than he paid for. So all the buyers came to the Chavetz Chaim. Now, even if he hadn't done all these great things, of course, the Chavetz Chaim has a store. You're going to go buy from the Chavetz Chaim. You're not going to go buy from Tom, Dick, and Harry if you can buy from Chavetz Chaim. So what happened was, Vayomer Rabbeinu Soamer Kohen. So he said, "It came by many spanners who sharchen bunny. If they all come to me, how's everybody else going to make a living?" So he made a law Kiftach, the truth is he wouldn't sit in the store. His wife sat in the store, but it doesn't matter. It's the same idea. Kiftach chanuso rak l'shah o shosayim. He only opens the store for an hour or two a day. Till he makes some small amount of money. Dai parnasas enough for his parnasa liyom for that day, but tzimtzum precisely. He's going to charkach, and then he'll close the store. So other people should also be able to make a parnasa, not just him. And then he analyzed it again. He said, "It didn't do it. It didn't work." You know, this is a great tool. It keeps on sinking on me. Let's see if this works. The people would still come to his store when his store is open, and they made sure to come during those hour or two. So he closed the store altogether. He stopped being a storekeeper. He didn't want to cause anguish to other storekeepers. Now, obviously, this is a very high madrega. The Chavetz Chaim madrega was such, we know the famous story of Chavetz Chaim, that whenever he would send a letter in with a messenger as opposed to with the post office, he would rip up a stamp. So the post office wouldn't lose for him. If you or I ripped up a stamp, it's stambal tashkis, and it's absolutely awesome. Because we're just doing it for gaiva. The Chavetz Chaim really felt that he shouldn't deprive the post office of its income. The post office in Poland of its income. So he ripped up a stamp. So the obviously Chavetz Chaim is in a madrega, which is above and beyond anything we can comprehend. But the point here is a very powerful point. In other words, he took into account that I can't deprive others of their livelihood. Can you imagine that? Right? One pizza store opens, another pizza store opens. I understand there's a cartel for pizza prices. So every pizza store takes care of the other pizza stores, if I'm not mistaken. But it's certainly true about Chavisol and other types of things like that. But
Dishonest businessman?
What?
Dishonest businessman catering to the firm world?
It happens occasionally. But in theory, everybody, yes, should be concerned about my competition. The other sochrim in town, how are they going to make a living? I should not take more than I need in order that person should also have. So it's not quite socialism, because everybody's doing business for their own, right? And everybody's making their own money. But everybody's concerned with everybody else. In other words, there's a common concern that even people, my competitors, also, on the final analysis, they're Jews, they're fellow Jews, and they need to have a parnasa, and I should not go above and beyond what I need if, by doing so, it deprives them of a livelihood. So he's saying that is the ideal. And he takes it a step further. When Chazal said, "Go to an enemy, give a cup of Yosem Yeshamayim." Somebody who works with manual labor is better than Reish Shamayim. Why is it better to work with manual labor than to be a Reish Shamayim? So Hanene Migir Kapov. Somebody gets benefits from his manual labor. Who Adama Muleh, he's a lofty person. He wants to give more than he gets. This person, to be sure he doesn't fail, he doesn't make money out of his intellectual or emotional advantages. Not because he's a skilled person in thought, not because he's a skilled person in interpersonal relationships. Why? Or in wisdom, with his wisdom or with his craft. With all these, it's quite possible you're going to take more than you're going to give. In other words, if a lawyer charges $1,000 an hour, it's very hard to say that the lawyer is giving $1,100 worth of services for those $1,000. It's very hard to believe that the lawyer is giving $1,000 worth of services for those $1,000. So it's hard for a lawyer to say, I'm giving more than I'm taking. The same thing is true, he says, about any profession in which the mind or the heart are involved, and not manual labor. But if I'm splitting logs, I'm producing a product with my own hands, so that I can tell exactly what I'm putting in and how much value is there, and make sure to give me more value than I'm taking. Which, again, is something which is very difficult for an accountant to do. It's possible, but it's very difficult. Very difficult for a lawyer, very difficult for any type of profession. So that's what he says. The Chazal, he doesn't say it here explicitly, but Chazal almost always chose, of course, there were limited professions back then. They didn't have accountants. But they always chose them to make their money from manual labor. One was a Yochanan Sandlar. There was Rabbi Yeshua made needles, sewing needles. The other ones who were shepherds, whatever else they were.
Shmuel
was a doctor.
No, I'm saying
that's a question.
That's
yeah.
an intellectual problem.
Right, that's a question. Yeah, okay.
It's probably unlimited value, right?
Yeah.
You can save someone's life, but it's
I think also if you're providing specific remedies and you charge it for the remedies, you can know what goes into the remedies. And so that's the doctor's main job is to provide medications, which I think was probably what they did. So then maybe there's a way to make it work. Could be. So therefore, he'd rather work with the toil of his hands and the sweat of his brow. Simple work. Which pays very little. And the toil puts into it, it's more than he gets paid for it. But okay, that makes him a great person. Why is he greater than Shamayim though? It says, God an enemy, you get a cup of Yosem Yirei Shamayim. What makes him greater than Yirei Shamayim? That's a very strange thing. Okay, maybe he's Yirei Shamayim. Because he's afraid of taking more than he's giving. What makes him greater than Yirei Shamayim? Says Zeiz Barb as Hashem Lahalan. That will explain later on. Okay, so we'll stop here for tonight because we're going to get a meeting. And the next parak is where it really gets deep. Okay. I mean,